I just want to ask you a question.
Oh, my gosh. Reversal of roles.
Yeah, just curious if you ever find yourself calling out to God.
You mean like you just
Like,
call
for
out
real?
my name
I don't know. What do you, how
and
do
you
you
know wherever I've
we
been?
have all these, we do this song now. I call out to you, God. What do you call out? What are you calling?
Right. Well, actually,
It sounds
yeah,
so bombastic to me. Like, who am I to do this stuff?
right. That's interesting that you think about it like that, because I think of it the other way.
What's that?
I think of it like we always talk about God listens to prayers, but we never say, does God answer them? Or maybe sometimes the answer is no. But, we don't, But you're right. What right do we have to even call out at all?
Hello, no is a good answer.
Right?
No is a good answer. How would your children like it when they grew up if you never said no to them?
Oh, I was supposed to?
Of course.
I didn't know that.
That's it.
I didn't know.
You didn't know? No.
Okay. You want to start shooting?
Sure. Okay, you ready? All right, so we're going to go over that.
Okay.
What, we're doing that again?
No, we're doing it fresh.
Okay.
What?
הודו לזכר קודשו והודו לזכר קודשו הודו לזכר קודשו.
Hello, everybody. This is Yehudah Katz and Gedaliah Gurfein on your favorite program, When the Land Sings. So, Yehudah, I don't know about singing. That's your department. But I do know about crying out, and expressing oneself and so on. And, we always see these situations where the great sages, they cry out to God. And I mean, every little person, no matter who they are, human being cries out to God. But couldn't that somehow be like arrogant? Couldn't that somehow be misconstrued? Like where do we get off thinking that we can cry out to God?
I really believe that crying out to God is an involuntary trait. Because if you're doing it on purpose, if you say, okay, I'm going to pray now, and I think I'll cry, push the tear button. Okay, let's go.
Right. That would be
What's that
out voluntary.
What's that worth? What's that worth? But if I walk up to the kotel, and all of a sudden, I don't know why, I start crying. I'm talking to God from the deepest place. It's out of my control now. Oh, you thought you were in control of everything. Wrong. This is it. That's calling out to God. It's coming from a deep place.
That's a really interesting thing. I don't know why, but you brought back a memory I once had. I was at the Western Wall, at the Kotel once, and there was a guy who was really crying out. In fact, he was standing so close to the wall that his head was like straight up and yelling up. And he was saying to God, he said, I'm not asking for a Mercedes Benz. I'm just asking for a little putt-putt so I can get around town. What's that?
Mm-hmm.
And I always kind of wanted to trail him to see if he really got that.
I'll tell you a story that I remember from my childhood. I grew up in New York, and I lived in a neighborhood that was primarily Jewish, but not everybody was observing the laws of the Torah. And our neighbor across the street was very proud of that he could maintain his own identity and not follow the laws of the Torah. Okay. Anyway, one day, sadly enough, this man had a heart attack. And my father, of blessed memory, he said, neighbor has a heart attack? I have to go visit him. So my father goes to the hospital, and this man, his name was Gene, he says, Walter, you won't believe it. I mean, I've been watching you and your family all these years, and I thought, what are they doing? I mean, come on. What's going on here? And I have this heart attack. And when I wake up from the surgery, I found myself involuntarily saying, God, if you'll save me from this, I'll dedicate my whole life to you. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But it just came out. And that man, I remember then, later on, saying to my father, hey, what happened to Gene? Since when does he come to the synagogue?
Wow.
Where did he get that talit from, that prayer shawl? What's happening? And my father told me this story.
That's very interesting. It also reminds me there was it's a joke, but obviously there's a very deep message in it. And the joke, of course, is, you might know it, the guy falls off the side of a cliff and a branch catches him under the shirt, but he's just dangling there. And he says, you know, if there's really a God, I'm ready. Just tell me what to do, and I'll follow you for my whole life. And so a voice comes out of heaven and says, if you really believe in me, just let go. And the guy says, is there anybody else out there? Sometimes, you know, we cry out, but we don't necessarily are ready for the answer or ready to integrate that. And what happens is, unless we prepare ourselves, we don't know that God answers, but God really does answer. And I think that it reflects back to this issue we spoke about in one of the other shows about free will and how we can reinforce ourselves. And if you don't mind, I'll tell you one more joke that I think brings us to life. There was a very holy rabbi, and he didn't really have much money, and he lived in a small town in Russia, and he's on the line to buy a ticket on the train to Moscow. And one of the very wealthy businessmen of his congregation sees the rabbi, and he says to the rabbi, he says, Rabbi, what are you doing here? He says, I'm going to buy a ticket to go to Moscow. He says, Moscow? That's like 5 ruble. That's a lot of money. You have that kind of money? And the rabbi says, I have faith in God. And the hardworking businessman who knows the value of every ruble says, Rebbe, that's very nice you have faith in God, but in 3 more people, you're going to have to go and deliver hard cash on the table. I have faith in God. 2 people, 1 person, and of course the working man is waiting there to see what's the Rebbe going to do when push comes to shove. And finally, it's the Rebbe's turn to walk up to the counter and to buy the ticket. And this guy is sarcastically standing there. And the Rebbe walks up as if the Red Sea had just parted in front of him. And he comes up to the counter and he says, I would like a ticket to Moscow. And the person says, that'll be 5 ruble. And at that point, the working man is so angry and so flipped out, he slaps 5 ruble on the table and says, don't ever have faith in God again. So both people are reinforced in their beliefs. What is the takeaway? And so I think when we talk about that, what do we respond to when God answers? It really depends on getting to that involuntary place to know that our beginning point is we really do want to cry out to God. And when we can cry out from that point of honesty, that breaks the veneer of knowing better and really being open, I think, to receiving God.
So I'm going to go cry with the boys now.
Great, man. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Think that'll be fun.
Yes, that'll be fun a lot.
Eilecha, Hashem
That was great.
Yeah.
Always great.
You know, it's, thank you. It's interesting because, you know, you probably saw I sing this song and calling out to God, and everybody thinks of that as kind of in a sad way. And somehow I often found myself going into a place of joy. And one of the great teachings that I heard from Shlomo was, why do you have two eyes? One eye is to cry tears of sadness, and the other is to cry tears of joy. And the parallel to that is that in most songs, certainly in nigunim, in Jewish melodies, there's an element of crying, sadness, and an element of joy. Maybe like that turning from the sad and going to the happy.
Right.
Like turning from the bad and
Right.
going to the good.
Right. Well, I was looking here and basically couldn't find anything.
Really? Well, I found something in there.
Oh, then why don't you do it? Because I was struggling. I was
Well-
calling out, and I didn't feel I was being answered.
You know, I'd mentioned that Rabbi Moshe Nehemiah Cohen wrote in one of his books about the following. He said that bechi, crying, poteach sha'arei shamayim. That crying has the power to open the gates of heaven.
Right.
Wow, it seems like the highest, right? Mm-hmm. He said, aval simcha, but happiness, morida mechitzot, has the power to take down walls,
Wow.
to take down barriers,
Tear down the wall.
tear it down.
Right.
So, okay, I'm crying and the heavens are open. The God is saying, great, I'll listen to everything you have to say. But what are you doing?
Wow.
What are you doing? Sitting around crying, being sad?
So you know what? Now I found something.
Oh,
The mystics say that the month of Adar, because it's on one level of the Jewish calendar, which has 4 New Years, it is the end of the year of months. It's actually an innately negative and sad month. It's not like, are we having fun yet? It's not a month that's going to give you external stimulus that's going to make you happy. It's innately dark. And therefore, we are told to be soldiers of wisdom and light and joy, to go into that darkness and to destroy the darkness through our wisdom. And I'll just share with you one more Baal Shem Tov on that. The Baal Shem Tov says that there was a king who built a huge castle. And when he built the castle, he made a meditative room in the center to retreat from all of the worries of his world. And the first day the castle was up and he went into that room, he realized, oh my gosh, there's no light because it's in the center of the castle. So he calls his biggest, strongest soldiers with these swords and clubs, and he says, go in there and beat out the darkness. And they're beating. One of them actually breaks a little hole in the wall, and that little crack of light reinforces that they're going about it the right way, but ultimately they're exhausted and nothing happened. Comes along a little Ayid, a little Jew, and he says, I can get rid of that darkness. And of course, all the big soldiers, they're laughing at him. You? We couldn't. You? He says, yeah, let me just try. And he walks into the room, and he lights a match. So the Baal Shem says that there's no way that you can beat darkness. The only way to get rid of that darkness is by increasing the light. So therefore, by being marba b'simcha, increasing the joy, that actually takes away the darkness.
beautiful. So going back to the idea of calling out to God,
Yes.
I'm calling out to God, and lots of times I'm in a dark place. When can I get to a place of light? When I do the other side of the coin. I don't just call out to God all day, call. I also need to listen.
Right.
Because just like I'm talking to God, God is talking to me. He's talking to me all day. And when I hear it, and then I have clarity, then there's now light instead of that darkness.
Right. In fact, the Gemara says, prayer is talking to God, and studying Torah is listening to God. Those are the two paths. And now I'm ready to maybe listen, as are our listeners, to what that song was you just sang.
So we said, Eilecha Hashem ekra, Eilecha Hashem ekra, I'm calling out. V'yel Hashem et Chanan. Calling out to God, and I'm singing prayers of supplication, like I'm really begging. So in this song, I'm singing Eilecha to you, Hashem, Ekra, I'll call out, V'el Hashem, Etchanan. I'm not just calling out, I'm in a place of need. It's prayers of supplication, begging. I'm begging God, please help me. Shema Hashem, V'chaneni. Listen, please, God, listen to me. V'chaneni, and pardon me, and send grace my way. I'm such in a dark place. I can't even see. God is sending me grace all the time. I'm asking Him to send grace, to pardon me. Hashem heye ozer li. Please be my helper. Shema Hashem, v'chaneni. Hashem heye ozer li. Shema Hashem, v'chaneni. Hashem heye ozer li. Then we're really crying out. Shema Hashem v'chaneni. Hashem heye ozer li. Shema Hashem v'chaneni. Hashem